Carol, just a little disclaimer.
Okay.
Some of us got a really different education than you think we did. My older sisters went to public school and I went to Papa for about a few years. Don't ask me how that happened, but it did, until we all figured it out. Anyway, so yeah. So first of all, thank you to Satmar Bikur Cholim for this very wonderful luncheon and for the two good decisions that they made today. The first good decision being that they tendered this in my mother's memory. Some people called her Mrs. Tress, some people called her Rebbitzin Tress. We called her Mommy. And the second really good decision that they made was doing it in my sister-in-law Miriam's house. That was really smart. So whoever thought about that, that was really good thinking. So my mother passed away a little bit over about 3 months ago plus. And, you know, I was thinking here and standing and thinking, what am I really going to say? So I can tell you that she was really, really nice. She was really, really fun. She was really from. She davened like nobody else davened. She said Tehillim like nobody else. She loved people. She loved God. She had Hashem right at her side. Her emunah and bitachon were just something that we watched, and we knew as we were watching it that we watched something unusual. And it was very special to all of us. She was very tzniistic. She was so refined. She was so careful about her mitzvahs. Her dikduk in mitzvahs was so legendary. Every single thing she did had to be perfect because it was for Hashem. She did not have OCD. She was really Erlich. She was really from. It was so in order with her whole being, with everything that she was. And we were so lucky to be the children of this person who loved every minute and every aspect of her life. And her life wasn't always easy. My father passed away when she was really young. She was 48. She lost a son 16 years later. But she celebrated life in every facet, in every way that she could. And the thing that was so unusual was that we all loved to be with her. We just celebrated her. We were all, as we got older, we realized what we had, and we all got crazier by the year, like being around her. And if we were crazy, my brothers were even crazier. They were like, there was nothing that they couldn't do, wouldn't do, shouldn't do. There were no limits. And I have to say that my sisters-in-law all went along with that. And I think that it's so fitting that today's luncheon is about my mother being held in my sister-in-law Miriam's house, because the very special relationship that they had was something that I think is pretty unusual. And I just want to focus on that for a little bit, because I think we hear many stories, and I'm sure all of you know that the natural order of the world is that a daughter-in-law and a mother-in-law is not always the greatest shidduch. This was an absolute dance. They had the greatest respect for each other and the utmost love and understanding. And as my mother got older and all of our families grew and we had new obligations and more children, my mother never wanted to leave home for the Yom Tovim. So it was decided, and Mendel and Miriam volunteered to come to my mother's house every year for Pesach and for Sukkot. Now these are two extended Yom Tovim. And she didn't just come and pop in with her kids and the food and 90 challahs and 79 desserts and side dishes and guests for every meal, because for my mother, the noisier the house was, the more she loved it. The more people who were in her house, the happier she was. And Miriam and Mendel made that happen every single year, twice a year. But it was even more than that. My mother's dikduk in mitzvahs came out more like around Pesach time. And let me tell you, you know, if you're a daughter who grows up with this, you realize how careful she wanted us to be, and she was. But a daughter-in-law coming into that house and everything had to be exactly, don't put the spoon here, and don't do this, and don't do that, and put this here. Never a word from Miriam. Never. Always with a smile, with the greatest respect. And I have to tell you that one year after Pesach, I was at my mother's house when they were all leaving and packing up. And after Pesach was all over, and it's a long 8 days, like Carol said, on the floor, on the mattresses, all over the place. The natural order, the natural response of somebody is to say, okay, bye, see you later, see you next year. Not Miriam. She turned around to my mother, and this is Pesach, and there's a lot to do. And she understood the greatness of my mother, and she says to my mother, Bobba, after 120 years, if I can even wave to you, I'll be happy. And my mother understood her greatness back, that she was able to understand what she needed and what they each needed. So it was it was a waltz. They moved together. It was seamless. It just worked. So, you know, Miriam, I don't know where you're standing, but I want to thank you for all of those great years and for giving my mother those beautiful Yom Tovim that we all were a part of, but you and Mendel just made it happen. So, on a personal note, I have to say my brother is a year younger than I am, and I always used to wonder, who's going to marry this guy? He's kind, he's gentle, he's generous, he's caring. Is there really anybody good enough for him? Miriam, we're really happy. I want to tell you, we're good. So, I think that, let me see if there's anything else I wanted to say here. I think that I could talk about my mother for a very long time. I think if you understand the respect that she had for everybody, that was the respect we gave back to her. I think that all of us have benefited in some way or another from Satmar Bikur Cholim. I know our family did on many occasions, and I would hope that everybody could be as generous as they could be with their thinking about what they're going to give today. So I want to thank you all for listening and for letting me share a little tiny drop with you about my wonderful, special, beautiful mother, who we miss every single day, and good year to all of you. Thank you.
What's your name?